The lights on the monitoring station flickered as another wave of static filled the communication channels. Zixtella pressed her six-fingered hands against the control panel, her blue skin turning pale as she listened to the sounds coming through her headset. In her 20 years of working at the Galactic Council's Deep Space Monitoring Station, she had never heard anything like this. The signal was weak, but clear enough to understand. It came from the human colony of New Haven in the Kepler system, a peaceful place known for growing food and studying plants. The humans there were farmers and scientists, not soldiers. They had no weapons, no military ships, nothing that could hurt anyone. Station Commander Velenex Zixthala called out, her voice shaking. "You need to hear this." The tall, gray-skinned commander walked over to her station. His large black eyes showed concern as he put on a spare headset. What he heard made his blood run cold. The voice was human, female, probably young. She was crying and speaking in broken sentences. "Please, anyone, they came out of nowhere. They're taking the children. Oh God, they're taking the children." Then came a sound that made both aliens step back from their stations. It was a scream, but not just any scream. It was the sound of a mother watching her child being taken away. It was pure terror and heartbreak mixed together. Even though they were different species, both aliens felt the pain in that sound. "Send this to all human ships in the area," Velenex ordered, "and contact Earth Command immediately." 3 hours later, Captain Jake Morrison was sitting in his small office aboard the EU's Harmony when the message came through. His ship was a diplomatic vessel, built for peace talks and trade meetings. It had light shields and no real weapons. But it was the closest human ship to the Kepler system. Jake was a tall man with graying hair and kind eyes. He had spent most of his career helping different alien species work together. He had never seen real combat, never had to make the hard choices that military commanders face. But when he heard that transmission from New Haven, something inside him changed. "Captain," his communications officer called out, "we're getting a live feed from the colony." Jake hurried to the main screen. What he saw made him feel sick. The colony was under attack, but this wasn't like the space battles he had seen in movies. These attackers were different. They were using some kind of biological ships that looked like giant insects mixed with machines. The ships were landing. Near schools and homes, and strange creatures were coming out. The creatures were tall and thin, with too many arms and faces that looked like nightmares. They moved quickly, grabbing people and dragging them into their ships. But they weren't just taking anyone. They were specifically going after the children. "Get me a direct line to Earth Command," Jake ordered. "Maximum priority." His crew looked at him with surprise. The EU's Harmony had never sent a maximum priority message before. Those were reserved for the most serious emergencies. "Sir," his first officer said quietly, "maybe we should wait and see what happens. Our orders are to avoid conflict and look." At that screen, Jake interrupted, pointing at the images of children being taken. "Tell me what our orders say about this." The first officer looked at the screen and said nothing. Jake opened the channel to Earth Command. His voice was steady, but his hands were shaking. "Earth Command, this is Captain Morrison of the EU's Harmony. The New Haven colony is under attack by unknown aliens. They are taking civilians, specifically targeting children. I am requesting immediate military support." There was a long pause before the reply came. "Captain Morrison, confirm your last transmission." "Did you say they are targeting children?" "Confirmed. The attackers are using biological ships and ground forces. Appear to be harvesting human civilians, with a focus on young people. Colony population is approximately 200,000, including 40,000 children." Another pause, longer this time. Jake could hear voices talking in the background, but he couldn't make out the words. "Captain Morrison, maintain your position and continue monitoring. Do not engage the enemy. Support is being arranged." Jake felt angry. "Earth Command, with respect, support needs to be arranged now. These people are dying." "Captain, you are ordered to maintain position and observe only. Your ship is not equipped for combat." Jake knew they were right. The UES Harmony had small defensive weapons, but nothing that could fight off an entire invasion fleet. But he also knew he couldn't just sit there and watch children being taken. He made a decision that would change everything. Earth Command, I am upgrading this situation. The enemy is using biological weapons against civilian populations. They are targeting children for what appears to be experimentation or worse. I am invoking emergency protocols. The channel went silent. Jake's crew stared at him. Everyone knew what emergency protocols meant, but no one had ever used them. Captain Morrison, came the reply from Earth's command, and Jake could hear the tension in the voice. Confirm you are requesting authorization code Crimson. Jake looked at his crew, then at the screen showing the attack on New Haven. He thought about his own children back on Earth, safe in their beds. He thought about the 40,000 children on New Haven who would not be safe tonight. Earth Command, I am requesting authorization code Crimson. The monsters have come for our children. The words hung in the air like a death sentence. Authorization code Crimson had not been used in 50 years. It meant that humanity was facing a threat so terrible that they were willing to use weapons they had promised never to use again. Jake's communications officer looked at him with wide eyes. Sir, do you know what you just did? Jake nodded slowly. I just woke up the Ghost Fleet. Admiral Lisa Carter was drinking her morning coffee when the alert came through. The red light on her desk started flashing, and a sound she had hoped never to hear filled her office. It was the emergency signal for authorization code Crimson. Lisa dropped her coffee cup, crashed to the floor, but she didn't notice. She had been in the military for 30 years, and she knew exactly what that code meant. Someone, somewhere, had decided that humanity needed to use weapons they had sworn to keep hidden. Get me the Global Defense Council, she ordered her assistant. Emergency session. All members now. Within 2 hours, 12 people sat around a secure table deep underground in Geneva. These were the most powerful military leaders on Earth, and they all looked worried. President Kevin Walsh joined them by secure video link from Washington. Ladies and gentlemen, Admiral Carter began 47 minutes ago. Captain Jake Morrison of the EU's Harmony requested authorization code Crimson. The request came from the Kepler system where the New Haven colony is under attack. She pressed a button, and the main screen showed the images from New Haven. The room went silent as they watched the alien creatures. Taking children from their homes and schools, General Paul Young, head of Earth's Space Forces, spoke first. Do we know about these attackers? Dr. Amanda Foster, the chief scientist for alien studies, stood up. She was a small woman with gray hair, but her voice was strong. Based on the initial data, we're looking at a species we've never seen before. They call themselves the Vexnari. Their ships are biological, grown rather than built. They seem to specialize in taking living beings for experiments. She changed the screen to show close-up images of the alien creatures. They target the young. Of any species they encounter, intelligence suggests they use children for biological research because young minds and bodies adapt better to their procedures. The room erupted in angry voices. These were military leaders who had seen many terrible things, but the idea of aliens experimenting on human children made them furious. President Walsh's voice came through the speakers. Dr. Foster, what are we looking at in terms of threat? Level, Mr. President, if the preliminary data is correct, the Vexnari operate like a plague. They move from system to system, taking what they need and leaving nothing behind. New Haven has 200,000 people, including 40,000 children. If we don't act, they will all be taken. Admiral Carter stood up. The question before us is simple. Do we authorize the deployment of the 7th Ghost Fleet? The room went completely silent. Everyone knew about the Ghost Fleet, but speaking about it was different. These ships had been built during humanity's darkest years, before they joined the Galactic Council. They were designed for one purpose: to completely destroy any enemy that threatened human survival. General Mary Santos, head of Special Operations, spoke carefully. If we deploy those ships, the entire galaxy will know what we've been hiding. We've spent 50 years convincing other species that we're peaceful. This changes everything. Colonel Frank Miller nodded. The aliens think we're farmers and traders. They don't know we're from a death world. They don't know what we're really capable of when we're angry. Dr. Foster pulled up another screen showing data about human military capabilities. For the past 50 years, we've only shown the galaxy our peaceful ships. We've kept our real weapons hidden. The other species think our strongest ship is something like the UES Harmony. They have no idea about the Ghost Fleet. Admiral Carter looked around the room. That was the plan. We wanted to be seen as protectors, not destroyers. But now we have a choice. We can let 40,000 human children be taken by these monsters, or we can show the galaxy why Earth is classified as a death world. President Walsh's voice was quiet but firm. What exactly are we talking about deploying? Admiral Carter pressed another button. The screen showed 12 ships that looked nothing like the peaceful vessels humanity usually used. These ships were dark, angular, and covered in weapons. They looked like something built by a species that knew only war. The 7th Ghost Fleet consists of 12 vessels that officially don't exist. They're crewed by volunteers who are legally dead according to all records. The ships carry weapons that are banned by 17 different galactic treaties. Weapons we agreed never to use when we joined the Galactic Council. General Yun leaned forward. Who would command such a fleet? Admiral Carter smiled grimly. Fleet Admiral Ryan Brooks. As far as the galaxy knows, he died in a training accident 20 years ago. In reality, he's been waiting at Titan Base. For a day like this, the room was quiet as everyone thought about what this meant. Using the Ghost Fleet would save the children of New Haven. But it would also reveal that humanity had been lying to the galaxy for 50 years. Dr. Foster spoke. Up. There's something else you should know. Our analysis suggests the Vexenari have never encountered real resistance. Every species they've attacked has either run away or been easily defeated. They have no idea what a death world species is capable of when protecting their young. President Walsh's voice cut through the discussion. I need a recommendation from this council. What do we do? Admiral Carter looked at each person around the table. The Vexenari made one mistake. They took our children. In 50 years of peaceful expansion, we've never had to show the galaxy our teeth. But some lines cannot be crossed. The vote was quick and unanimous. Every person in the room raised their hand. Authorization Code Crimson is approved, Admiral Carter announced. God help us all. 20 minutes later, deep in a hidden base on Titan, alarms began to sound. Fleet Admiral Ryan Brooks, a man the galaxy thought was dead, opened his eyes and smiled. After 20 years of waiting, the Ghost Fleet was going to war. Deep in the shadows of Titan, Saturn's largest moon, lights began to flicker in a facility that had been dark for 2 decades. The base was hidden beneath miles of ice and rock, invisible to any scanner in the galaxy. For 20 years, it had been waiting. Fleet Admiral Ryan Brooks stood in front of a mirror, putting on a uniform that officially didn't exist. He was 55 years old, with gray hair and scars on his hands from battles the galaxy had never heard about. According to every record in human space, Ryan Brooks had died in a training accident 20 years ago. The truth was very different. Sir, came a voice from behind him. All crews are reporting ready. Ryan turned around to see Captain Nicole Hayes. She was a small woman with sharp eyes and a reputation for being able to make ships disappear from enemy sensors. Like everyone else on the base, she was officially dead. How long since we've run a full system check? Ryan asked. 6 months, sir. All ships are at 100% readiness. The crews have been training continuously. Ryan nodded. The men and women who served on the Ghost Fleet had volunteered for a special kind of duty. They had given up their lives, their families, their very existence to become humanity's hidden guardians. They lived in the shadows, ready to emerge only when the worst possible threats appeared. What's our intelligence on the enemy? Ryan asked as they walked through the base's corridors. Commander, Tony Martinez joined them. He was a big man who commanded the heavy assault ship U.S. Iron Coffin. The Vexenari showed up 3 days ago with over 300 bioships. They're unlike anything we've seen before. The ships look alive, like giant insects made of metal and flesh. They entered the main briefing room, where the other ship commanders were waiting. These were the deadliest humans in the galaxy, people who had been trained to fight wars that would make other species have nightmares. "Ladies and gentlemen," Ryan began, "today we stop pretending to be peaceful farmers and traders. Today we remind the galaxy why Earth is called a death world." He pressed a button, and the main screen showed the attack on New Haven. The room went completely silent as they watched children being dragged away by the alien creatures. "The enemy thinks they're dealing with helpless humans," Ryan continued. "They've studied our public ships, our diplomatic vessels, our trade fleets. They think we're weak. They have no idea what's about to hit them." Captain Nicole Hayes raised her hand. "Sir, what are our rules of engagement?" Ryan's face went dark. "There are no rules. These creatures are taking our children for experiments. We will show them no mercy, and we will leave no survivors to report." "Back to their home fleet," the commanders nodded. They had trained for this moment their entire careers. "Remember," Ryan added, "the galaxy is watching. For 50 years we've convinced other species that we're peaceful. Today they learn the truth. We are peaceful because we choose to be, not because we have to be." 1 hour later, 12 ships began to emerge from hidden bays in the Titan base. These were not the sleek, elegant vessels that humanity usually built. These ships were angular, brutal, and covered in weapons that made them look like mechanical predators. The flagship was the UES Reaper's Edge, a massive battleship that could destroy entire fleets by itself. Captain Hayes commanded the UES Silent Death, a stealth destroyer that could appear and disappear like a ghost. Commander Martinez took the UES Iron Coffin, a heavy assault ship built to punch through any defense. Each ship in the fleet had weapons that were banned by galactic law. Quantum cannons that could tear holes in space itself. Molecular disruptors that could turn enemy ships into dust. Kinetic weapons that could punch through planets. As the fleet left Titan's orbit, every military sensor in the solar system detected them. The energy signatures were unlike anything seen in 50 years of human space travel. On the Galactic Council monitoring station, Zixtella watched her screens with growing fear. "Commander," she called out, "I'm detecting 12 human ships leaving the Sol system. But these energy readings are impossible." Commander Velenix looked at the data and felt his blood go cold. "Those aren't civilian ships. Those are warships. But humans don't have warships like this." 3 sectors away, the Galactic Council vessel GCS, peaceful. Endeavor was on a routine patrol when their sensors detected the approaching human fleet. Captain Veltar, a proud warrior from the Zephyrian Empire, had never felt fear in 30 years of military service. But when he saw the human ships on his screen, something inside him went cold. "Commander Parker," he called to his human liaison. "Officer, what exactly are we looking at?" Commander Chris Parker was a diplomatic officer who had spent years convincing aliens that humans were peaceful. He looked at the sensor data and knew that everything was about to change. Captain Chris said quietly, "You're looking at the reason why humans are classified as a death world species? We've spent 50 years trying to make you forget what we're capable of." The alien crew stared at the approaching ships. They could see the weapons, the armor, the brutal design that spoke of a species born for war. "But you're farmers," one of the alien officers whispered. "You're traders and diplomats." Chris looked at him with sad eyes. "We're farmers and traders. Because we choose to be. But we're also the children of a planet that tried to kill us every single day for millions of years. We learned to survive by being the most dangerous thing on our world." In the Kepler system, the Vexnari detected the approaching human fleet. 300 bioships against 12 human vessels seemed like easy odds. Had never lost a battle. Never faced real resistance. They were about to learn why that was a mistake. The 12 human ships dropped out of quantum space at the edge of the Kepler system like dark angels of death. Lead Admiral Ryan Brooks stood on the bridge of the UES Reaper's Edge, looking at the sensor readings that showed over 300 Vexnari bioships surrounding the New Haven colony. "Sir," his weapons officer reported, "the enemy fleet is massive. Their ships are unlike anything in our databases. They appear to be grown rather than built." Ryan studied the alien vessels on his screen. They looked like giant insects, mixed with machines pulsing with organic energy. Some were as large as space stations. Others moved like hunting predators through space. "Captain Hayes," Ryan said into his communication device, "are you seeing this?" From her stealth ship, U.S. Silent, Death Nicole Hayes replied, "Yes, sir. 312 enemy vessels. They're positioned around the colony like they're harvesting it." "Commander Martinez," Ryan called to the U.S. Iron Coffin, "what's your assessment?" Tony Martinez's voice came through clearly. "Sir, they're not even trying to defend themselves. They think 12 ships against 300 is a joke." Ryan smiled grimly. The Vexnari had no idea what they were facing. For 50 years, they had probably studied human ships and seen only peaceful trading vessels and lightly armed diplomatic craft. They thought humans were weak. "All ships," Ryan announced on the fleet channel, "prepare for combat operations. Remember, there are 40,000 human children down there depending on us." The Vexnari detected the human fleet and immediately sent a communication. It was not in words but in images and feelings that somehow entered the minds of everyone. Who received it? The message was clear: surrender or be destroyed. But there was something else in that communication. It was the feeling of hunger, of creatures that fed on fear and pain. The Vexnari didn't just want to conquer. They wanted to make their victims suffer. Ryan felt the alien thoughts trying to enter his mind and push them away. All ships, enemy, is attempting psychological warfare. Switch to combat mode. Across the fleet, the human ships activated their battle systems. Shields powered up to full strength. Weapons that had been hidden for 50 years began to charge. The ships themselves seemed to change, becoming more predatory, more dangerous. The Vexnari sent their standard attack pattern, a wave of bioelectric energy washed out from their fleet, designed to shut down enemy ships and terrify their crews. This attack had never failed. Every species in the galaxy feared the Vexnari's ability to disable their enemies before the real fighting began. The energy wave hit the human ships and did absolutely nothing. "Sir," the weapons officer reported with satisfaction, "enemy attack had no effect. Our systems are fully operational." Ryan opened a channel to the Vexnari fleet. His voice was calm but filled with promise of violence. "Attention Vexnar ships. You have taken human civilians, including children. You have one chance to release them immediately and leave this system. Choose wisely." The response from the aliens was immediate and clear. They sent images of human children in cages, of experiments, being performed of things too horrible to describe. The message was simple: we do what we want, and there is nothing you can do to stop us. "Sir," Captain Hayes reported from her stealth ship, "I'm reading massive energy buildup from the enemy fleet. They're preparing to attack." Ryan nodded. "All ships, weapons free. Show them what happens when you threaten human children." The battle began in a way that no one in the galaxy expected. Instead of the usual long-range fighting between fleets, Captain Hayes simply disappeared from all sensors. The UAS Silent Death vanished as if it had never existed. The Vexnari were confused. Their bioships could track any known technology. But suddenly, one of the human ships was just gone. Then it reappeared inside their formation. The UES, like Silent Death, materialized between two massive Vexnari bioships and fired its quantum disruptor cannons. The weapons didn't just destroy the alien ships, unraveled them at the molecular level, turning them into nothing more than scattered atoms. "Two enemy ships destroyed," Hayes reported calmly, as if she had just completed a training exercise. The Vexnar fleet erupted in confusion and anger. It never faced an enemy that could just appear among them and destroy their ships so easily. They launched everything they had at the human fleet commander. Martinez's U.S. Iron Coffin proved why it had earned its name. The heavy assault ship didn't try to dodge the incoming attacks. Instead, it flew straight into the enemy formation, its armor absorbing everything the Vexnari could throw at it. "Kinetic penetrators away," Martinez announced. His ship fired a spread of metal projectiles moving at incredible speed. Each one punched through multiple Vexnari ships, leaving trails of destruction through the enemy fleet. But it was Fleet Admiral Brooks who showed the galaxy why humans were truly feared. The UES Reaper's Edge moved forward like a predator stalking its prey, its main weapon, a quantum destabilizer cannon, charged with energy that made space itself bend around it. "Target the largest enemy vessel," Ryan ordered. The cannon fired. The beam that emerged didn't just hit the Vexnari command ship. It erased it from existence, leaving not even debris behind. Where there had been a massive bioship capable of destroying planets, there was now empty space. The effect on the Vexnari fleet was immediate. These creatures had never faced an enemy that fought without fear, showed no mercy, that had weapons capable of such destruction. For the first time in their species' history, they felt something they had never experienced before. Terror. The human ships moved through their formation, like sharks among fish. Every shot was precise, every attack calculated for maximum destruction. The Vexnari tried to run, but the humans were faster. They tried to hide, but human sensors found them. They tried to fight back, but human shields turned their weapons into harmless light shows in 47 minutes. The 300-ship Vexnari fleet was reduced to 17 survivors fleeing into deep space. "All ships," Ryan announced, "begin. Rescue operations immediately. Get our people out of there." The rescue operation began immediately after the last Vexnari ship disappeared into deep space. Lieutenant Colonel Betty Stone led the ground teams as they moved through the abandoned alien biostructures that had been left behind on New Haven's surface. Betty was a tough woman who had trained for every nightmare scenario that could happen to human colonies. She had studied alien biology, combat tactics, and rescue operations for 20 years. But nothing had prepared her for what she found inside the Vexnari harvesting chambers. "Command," she reported through her radio, "we have found the civilians. They're alive, but they're in some kind of biological containers. We need medical teams down here immediately." The containers looked like giant eggs made of flesh and metal. Inside each one was a human being, kept alive by alien technology. The children were in smaller containers, their faces peaceful as if they were sleeping. "How many?" Fleet Admiral Brooks asked from orbit. "All of them, sir. 200,000 people, including every single child. The aliens kept them alive for their experiments, but they never got the chance to start." Dr. Amanda Foster, who had arrived with the rescue fleet, worked with the medical teams to safely remove people from the alien containers. She was amazed by what she found. "The Vexnari technology is incredible," she reported to Admiral Carter back on Earth. "They can keep people alive indefinitely while they study them. It's horrible, but it also means we saved everyone." As the rescue continued, news of the battle spread across the galaxy. Every species that belonged to the Galactic Council received reports of what had happened in the Kepler system. The reaction was immediate and shocked. On the Council's main station, emergency meetings were called. Alien leaders who had worked with humans for 50 years suddenly realized they had never known their human partners at all. 300 ships, said Council Leader Zareth, a wise being from the oldest species in the galaxy. The humans destroyed 300 ships in less than an hour. How is this possible? The military leaders of various species gathered to study the battle reports. What they saw frightened them. The human ships had used weapons that could tear apart reality itself. They'd moved through the enemy fleet like it was made of paper. "We've been living next to a species that could destroy us all," said General Vexstar of the Zephyrian Empire. "They have hidden their true power from us for 50 years. But not everyone was afraid. Some species began to understand what had really happened. They saved 40,000 children," said Ambassador Clienth from the peaceful Altarian Federation. "When they had the power to conquer the galaxy, they chose to protect the innocent instead." 3 days after the battle, Admiral Lisa Carter arrived at the Galactic Council station to face the emergency session. She knew that humanity's future in the galaxy depended on what happened in the next few hours. The Great Council chamber was filled with representatives from hundreds of species. Some looked angry, others looked afraid, and a few looked curious. Admiral Carter walked to the center of the chamber and waited for the questions to begin. "Admiral Carter," Council Leader Zareth said, "humanity has hidden military capabilities that violate several galactic treaties. How do you explain this? Lisa looked around the chamber at the faces of beings she had worked with for years. We kept those ships secret not as a threat to you, but as protection from threats you couldn't imagine. Every Deathworld species eventually faces a choice. We can use our nature to destroy, or we can use it to protect. We chose protection. But you lied to us, said General Vexstar. You made us believe you were weak when you could have conquered us all. Could have, Lisa repeated, but didn't. For 50 years, we have been your partners, your allies, your friends. We have helped build this council, defended weaker species, and worked for peace. The fact that we had the power to do otherwise makes our choice more meaningful, not less. An alien from the Kepler system stood up. It was one of the New Haven colonists who had been rescued. My name is Dr. Helen Price. I was taken by the Vexnari, along with my 2 children. I want to tell you what I saw. The chamber went quiet as the human woman spoke. Those creatures didn't just want to kill us. They wanted to make us suffer. They showed us images of what they had done to other species, other children. They fed on fear and pain. She paused, looking around the chamber. The humans who saved us didn't hesitate. They didn't ask for permission or wait for approval. When they heard children crying for help, they came. They risked everything to save people they had never met. More survivors spoke. They told stories of human soldiers who carried frightened children to safety, of medical teams who worked for days without sleep to help the rescued civilians, of Captain Jake Morrison, who had risked his career to call for help. The debate continued. For hours, some species demanded that humanity be expelled from the council. Others argued that the humans had saved innocent lives from a terrible fate. Finally, Commander Chris Parker, the human liaison officer, stood up to speak. I have worked with many of you for years. You know me. You know that humans value life above all else. Yes, we have powerful weapons. Yes, we could have used them to conquer instead of protect. But we didn't. He looked around the chamber. Today the galaxy learned something important. Humans might be from a death world, but we are the ones who make sure death doesn't come for the innocent. We are the ones who answer when children cry for help. The final vote was close, but humanity remained in the Galactic Council. The compromise was that humans would share some information about their military capabilities in exchange for expanded roles in galactic defense. Fleet Admiral Ryan Brooks and the Ghost Fleet returned to their hidden base, but the galaxy now knew they existed. The Vexnari threat was ended, but more importantly, the galaxy understood. Humanity's greatest weapon wasn't their technology or their ships. It was their absolute refusal to let evil go unopposed, no matter what the cost. Captain Jake Morrison, whose distress call had started everything, visited the recovered New Haven colonists one last time before returning to duty. A little girl who had been rescued from the aliens ran up to him and hugged his leg. Thank you for saving us, she said. Jake smiled and picked her up. That's what we do, little one. That's what humans do.